welcome to the webcast. This one's around some new things that have appeared in Qlik Sense. So we're up to 3.01, which is a service release on 3.0. If anyone is running 3.0 at the moment, I recommend you upgrade to 3.01. There's a couple of bug fixes that are fairly important in there, so if you can, please upgrade as soon as possible. Okay, let's start off. And hopefully I can make the screen change. Okay, so this is a little bit of an agenda for the next hour. We're going to talk about some of the new features in Qlik Sense, those being something around visual data preparation, visual search, some time-aware charting, and some, in combination with that, some new mapping capabilities. We'll talk about the various Qlik connectors that are now available. We'll do a very quick demonstration of how to create a widget that can be used in your applications. We'll talk a little bit about Qlik Data Market and a little bit about Qlik NPrinting. NPrinting has just become compatible with Qlik Sense. It's backward compatible to 2.2. and it's compatible with this service release that I just mentioned before. So if you're on 3.0, it's not going to work for you, but 3.01, that service release will allow it to work for you. Okay, so that's the agenda. Anybody that has questions, please just type them into the chat window, and we'll look after answering those as we go through. Okay, so quick introduction. I think most of you are using Qlik Sense. If you aren't, quick talk about that. Qlik Sense Desktop is a free tool that anyone can download to their computer and use for as long as they like. Most of our clients then move to using Qlik Sense Enterprise. As soon as they do that, I recommend that you don't use Qlik Sense Desktop for any development work, that you do all of the development work on Qlik Sense Enterprise and just open a browser window and do all your developing there. It will be easier and simpler for you to do that. It'll be easier and simpler for the administrators of the Sense Enterprise if you do that. If you do want to consume something that's on Qlik Sense Enterprise, it's possible for the administrator to export the app for you so that you can view it in Qlik Sense Desktop. A sample or a use case for that may be if you want to go on a business trip and then talk to a series of customers or suppliers about the insights you see in Qlik Sense, you can take Qlik Sense Desktop with you, that app, and then use it. Okay, a couple more people have just logged in, so welcome to those people. We haven't done very much yet. We're going to talk about some of the new things in Qlik Sense 3, and we'll start with that first one, which is about visual data preparation. And so what that allows us to do is to bring some data into Qlik Sense, and when we do that, we don't have to go into the back end of the script to connect the data together. We do it in a slightly different way. That allows us to drag and drop tables together, or to use a wizard which will attempt to connect all the tables together. The way I see this working in a large enterprise is firstly when you're building your apps right at the beginning, but also when you start to allow your end users to do some ad hoc app creation. If you work and build a series of QVDs that are well formed, it should be possible to take those QVDs, drag them into an application, and they should connect together. Without any issues. Okay, so it's all good to see a PowerPoint, but it would be much nicer if we actually built something like that. So I'm going to bring Qlik Sense Desktop across onto this page first, and I'll build something here. Now, I've just started this application. I haven't done anything substantial in it yet, so we'll just open that one up. Now, this visual data preparation, we need to use the data manager to build the application. And so I've loaded a single table into there called orders. And you'll see that it has a blue check here saying pending add. So it hasn't been added a data model yet. It's just sitting there waiting to be added. So I'm going to add a little bit more data from a couple more tables. And I've got a folder here with data that I want to load in it. And the first one I want is categories. So I'm going to click here. What Sense will do will be to have a look through there, find out what the categories are, and I'm going to click on Prepare Data. And I'll do that twice more for 2 more tables. And then we'll see a bit of wizardry that Qlik Sense 3 has in it that wasn't there before. Okay, there's 3, and the last one I'm going to grab is products. And we'll click on Prepare Data as well. That's nice. Didn't want to see that. Let me get rid of that. And I didn't want to see that either. Let's see if we can fix this up on the fly. I might have to start again. Maybe bringing that one in early was a bad mistake on my behalf. Yes, it was. All right, I'll just jump out of here and I'll start the whole thing again. I think I jumped in a little bit early and shouldn't have done that. And I won't save anything. I'll just create myself a brand new app. That was a bit of a mistake. I'll just call my app What's New this time. Click Create. What I was hoping to do was to avoid having to navigate around my computer to find the data, so I'll have to do that now. Here's my data manager. I'll add some data. It won't know where to look, so I'll have to very quickly jump through a few hoops to get there. And I'm looking for what's new, data for presentation. Here we go. All right, so I'll start again. I'll grab the orders, prepare the data for that, and I'll just go grab those other tables again. Sorry about that, guys. So as you can see, I don't have to do anything fancy in here. Customers and prepare data. And the troublesome products. Let's hope it works this time. And prepare data. All right. I've done this like 6 times in the last few days to make sure it all worked properly. I'm going to click on the associations. I'm going to leave products out of the mix for a minute because I'm not quite sure what's happening there. What I want to show you is the ability for Qlik Sense to automatically connect things. So I've got a table called customers here, and customers I know can connect to either orders or Qlik's found a way where it potentially could connect to categories as well. But I'm pretty sure that customers is going to connect to orders. As I drop that together, Qlik will automatically make the connection for me. Now, it's saying customer ID is the field that it wants to connect, and so it's finding orders customer ID on the orders table and customers.customer ID on this side. And so that looks like it's a good connection for me. I could decide to change that to be a different name, but I'm quite happy with customers at the moment. The other tables won't connect together because products and categories are needed. So I'll just load those 2 for a moment. And we'll have a look at the sheet that's been created. So I'll add the other 2 in later if we get time so I can build a little bit more, but I'll do it in the back end rather than in that interface. Not quite sure what I've done. The interface in the front has changed a little bit. So we can see a pop-out appears for the charts. Any custom objects that we've got, including some widgets that I've built, will be appearing here. Anything that we've defined as master items will be here, and then fields will be at the bottom. So that's slightly different. I like it. It just means more space on the developer screen for ourselves. I was attempting to build a couple of charts here to show you that process. So I'll build a bar chart, and I need to add some dimensions and some measures. I'll do that right now. So we should be able to do something around the customer name, perhaps. Hopefully that's the customer name, and then we can use a measure to build something, which net revenue sounds like a good thing to use, or the sum of net revenue. And so I built a little bit of a chart on the fly. I wanted to do something around dates as well. So I'm going to copy this chart. I can right mouse click and copy, and then right mouse click over here and paste it. I'd like to change this one from being a bar chart to a line chart. This was fairly similar to what we did previously in Sense, but I'm going to change this one down the bottom to be a date field. So I'll change my dimension. At the moment I've got that as my measure, so I'll delete that. And I can just drag my field across. And so what I'm going to use is order date, and I'll drop that across onto here. Add order date. And I added order date. Didn't want customers. I wanted to have revenue. So I'll do that revenue again there, net revenue as a sum. And so now I've got a line chart with some dates across there. The reason for the line chart will become obvious in a sec. Okay, so let's click out of here. I wanted to show you right now there's a feature, and I've just jumped a little bit ahead because of my problem with getting my products in. There's a feature that will allow us to drill down into dates. So at the highest level here, we've got some information by year and probably some months down below here. As I start to drill into it, you'll see that the months are progressively exposed. And if I keep drilling down into here, I get a continuous stream of dates, and I can drill down into something much smaller, and hopefully in a sec, there we go, I'll get the days of the month. You'll see down the bottom here that it's highlighting the particular section that we're looking on. And I can drill around inside there, and of course I can drill back up again, and you'll see that this selection area is getting larger as I drill further into the information. And I can scroll around into those things as well. Okay, so wasn't meaning to do it, but I'm going to jump into the data load editor real quick. Cancel, I need to save. Thank you, Qlik, for reminding me. I'll jump into the data load editor and add those couple of tables that I managed to mess up somehow. You'll see that this is an auto-generated section. That's what we've seen so far. I can unlock those and add some more pieces to the mix, but I don't think I want to do that. I'm going to take products out of, oops, I need to unlock it. So I've got my orders. Maybe it all worked and I just couldn't see that it worked. So I've got customers and those. I'll add those pieces back in a separate tab. All right, so let me add a second tab, and I'll go grab that extra data. I'm going to grab those from a folder, and that folder is sitting in my desktop under projects, under what's new, data for presentation, and the table that I'm looking for is products. Need to give it a name somewhere. There it is. I'm just going to call it folder for today. And now I can go and grab those extra fields that I want. So I want products, select insert script, and I also want the categories. So I'll just grab that as well. And insert the script. Let's load our data again. I've got a little problem here that I need to fix up, so I'll go and check what I've got happening. Sorry, won't be a sec. Okay, I've got a question I'll answer in a moment, but I just need to fix up a little bit of this information. I think that's what I needed to do to fix up my tables. Yes. Okay, so that's where I wanted to be a couple of minutes ago. I'll go back to my Sense Hub. This is a little bit of a technical question, but I'll answer it now and get it out of the way. Binary loads are not recommended at all in Qlik Sense, despite that capability being there. We don't recommend binary loads, so don't do it. Use the QBD layer instead, rather than doing a binary load. It's not going to be reliable for you if you go down that path. Okay, let's go back to our app overview. So at the moment we have a single table, and that sheet has 2 objects in it. Okay, now I should have labeled the charts, but we can leave that for a minute. And what I'd like to do is also add some data for the location of all the stores. So I'm going to go back into the script one more time, and I'll add that piece of script. I want to show you what happens when we do that, and I'll do that from the data manager actually, which should be nice and easy for me. So data from presentation. Now that's location data. So let me load that in. You'll see there's a longitude and a latitude field in that one. And we can load that data and finish. Close. Now, what's happening in the background is kind of important, so let's kind of have a look at those pieces. The first thing that we did in here was that we loaded in orders. And so Qlik has created a calendar for us automatically, and that allows us to drill from what I showed previously, from year down into month into the days of the month. So this little piece of code is loaded automatically. If you look at this carefully, you'll see there's no fiscal information in there, but it's quite simple to change. We just need to use that piece there where we're referencing the $1, and we can create some additional code that goes into here that creates all our fiscal calendars. We've done that for 1 or 2 examples in one client so far, so I'm sure we can help you get that to happen as well. That shouldn't be there, but that's okay. In the second piece, I brought in the products and the categories table, and then we brought in the mapping information. So what I wanted to do was show you that mapping information, and it didn't do what I wanted, so I need to prepare data. Let me go back one back. Cancel, save, go back, data manager. I need to ask for the preparation of the data before I went forward, and I didn't do that. There's our location data. You can prepare the data. And you can see here that it's created the points we need for longitude and latitude. And now I can load the data. Let's go back and look at our script again. And you'll see that it's created the point that we need for our mapping. So let's make a quick map. and then we'll move on and show a few other bits and pieces inside Qlik Sense. So let's go back to the app overview. We'll edit this a little bit. I'll make these a little bit smaller. Kind of old-fashioned with this. I always do it this way. It's probably not the easiest way, but that's the way I create my pieces now. We'd like to create a map. We'll use our map here. When we add the dimension, we can choose any of the longitude and latitude points. So let's do it by customer, since we have a map for customers. And what I'd like to be able to do is to have bigger bubbles when there are more sales. So if we have an expression in here, we can sum up that net revenue we've been playing with. So I can use a wizard for this, and I'll do that this time. So here's my net revenue, and the aggregation I would like is sum. And when I insert that, it'll write the code for me, so I don't even have to know how to write it. When I apply that one, we'll see we've got some really big bubbles and some smaller bubbles. Let's adjust the bubble size a little bit to make it easier to see. So we'll drop that one down. Maybe make that a little bit bigger and make this one a little bit smaller. We don't want to see the zeros. They're not really important to us. And I think the opacity could be a little bit less as well, just so it's a little bit easier to see what's underneath. Okay, let's give this one a title and call it Customers by Country. And we'll do something over here to say Sales by Customer. And we'll come to this one and call it Sales by Date. So these two pieces are going to make it much easier for you to develop meaningful data across longitudinal periods, and this one across geographic periods. We've happened to do one that's point maps, but we can do the same thing for areas as well. Okay, let's click done on this one. And I've typed that badly, but I think that'll be okay. The next piece I wanted to show you was visual search. And so if I click on this button here, and I'm going to use the word customer, assuming I can type it. What Qlik's going to do for us, it's going to search both for objects where there's some metadata that indicates customer. So in this case, sales by customer and customer by country. And if there were some values in the fields inside the application that used customer, they would be shown as well. So if there was some data that used the word customer, they'd be shown as well. Likewise, if I go and choose Bonds Limited, I see it there in the middle. Can't type. What it's going to do, it's going to identify that this particular table has the word bond in it, and it's also going to find that there's a field in here called customers that contains bond. This has some implications for the way you develop apps for your clients or for your customers or for your staff, in that you can change from having that kind of app-centric thing with lots of tabs and instead give them the ability to go and look for what they're looking for easily and quickly. You can still have both, obviously, but this will allow, if you've got 35 pages of pieces on your application, it'll make it easier. Once you teach people how to do this, it'll make it easier for them to go find the one that they need to see. That implies that you will type meaningful names for your titles and so on. All right, let me jump back to the PowerPoint, make sure I haven't missed anything before we carry on again. So what we talked about, I guess, if we summarize through, we should be able to drag and drop. I didn't do a great example of that. We just did it for the two tables, but I think I recovered okay. We've managed to profile the dates and the geographic information in that area of visual data preparation. This is what it should have looked like when I got all four of them to work, and the connectivity of those together. the profiling of the dates and the geographic, that's an example of that one. There's our example for maps. And we've just had a look at the visual search capabilities that will allow us to see things like this. And that time aware, we can drill down on that once we get into it. Right now, it's only for line charts. Subsequent releases will allow it to happen for things like bar charts when there's a date field at the bottom. Okay, the next thing that's happened, I think is quite important, especially for ABM when we're connecting to lots of different data providers. These are all built-in connectors now, so we can go and connect into Apache Hive and Cloudera and IBM DB2 and lots of other places directly from the computer and the installation that's happened inside Qlik, which makes life much simpler. So that's the ODBC type connections to that. There's also a Salesforce connector and REST connector. So anybody that's looking to go and get data from API sources out on the web somewhere, the REST connector will make that job much, much easier for you. In addition to that, Qlik bought a company that's now allowed us to grab lots of other connectors. Now, most of these are supplied for a small cost. I'm not the sales guy, so I can't help you too much with those things. But there's a series of connectors, for example, to the one that I always seem to be using is Google AdWords to go and connect to help marketing people understand where they're getting their data from. But there's lots of other connectors as well to things like MongoDB and so on. That list is expected to increase fairly rapidly as Qlik brings more connectors into the mix. Okay, so the next thing that's happened, Qlik's always been extensible, both in Qlik View and Qlik Sense, but it was a little bit tricky to go and build extensions. You had to know some JavaScript, you had to maybe know a little bit more about developing than might have been reasonable. So Qlik's trying to help us with this, and they've got the widgets that we can now use to connect, to create. And you just have to know a little bit of HTML and a little bit of CSS. And even that is made easy because there are a number of sample applications or sample widgets that you can install on your machine and then have a little bit of a play with. And that's exactly what I did when I first started to look at widgets. So we're going to build a quick widget like this. I'm using desktop. The same approach applies when you're developing on the server. So let me grab my Qlik piece. I'll just save what I built here for the moment. Over here on the hub, this is my desktop hub. I can click on here, and this hamburger menu, if that's what it's called, includes a link to the dev hub. So if I click on this, it opens something that's on localhost through port 4848, and that allows us to go and make extensions and mashups and widgets. The widgets are new for Qlik Sense 3, so that's the one I was going to show today. The examples, Qlik supplies some examples. You need to install those onto your desktop if you want to play with them. It's not a difficult process. If you just look in help.qlik.com, there'll be some instructions there on how to do it. We might add some instructions in the email that we send back to you to say thank you as well. All right, so here I've just clicked on the widgets editor, and I'm going to open the library of widgets that I've already used. And these are the widget examples that come with Qlik. And I've added to that with another widget example. But what I'll do is just click on this drill KPI sample. And here's Qlik helping us out lots by changing to the code for this drill KPI and writing the CSS example that we can copy from, so that makes life nice and simple. It looks a bit daunting at first, but you can do some nice simple things with that. So to get a visualization of this to happen, you need to connect to an application. So in this case, I'm going to connect to this training app called Airline Operations. And once I've done that, the default app will or the default widget will come up on screen, and I've got some possibilities to change that a little bit and then make it ready to be published as a widget that I can use later on. So once I've connected to this, you'll see these pieces of the data come from the airline operations QBF that I connected to. It didn't have to be that. I'm going to choose airtime as an example, and so that's 92%, just like I can when I go into Qlik Sense. Normally, I can change these things around a little bit, so I'm going to change this one to be 12.3% or whatever it turns out to, 92.8%. I've got a label up the top here, and I can go ahead and play around with the settings a little bit and put a title in here. So instead of the word title, I'd like to say something like airtime it doesn't have to be anything in particular, and we can put a value into there somewhere. I have to remember where. So there's a possibility to add a second value into that so that we can have a different measure appearing down the bottom there. I'm not going to manage to get that because I've forgotten where to put it. I wonder if it happens here. Let's see. No, that wasn't good for me. I'll leave that piece for the time being, but I will go through and change the connector there. I'm going to make that a world map. And now I've got something that I might use as a widget. I can change the colors, obviously. I can do a few other things with the fonts, and I can also change the size of this piece. So I might do a little bit of a change to the size. I think the sizes in this one are all 600. But my particular widget, I'd like to be 450. So I'll keep searching through here for all of my 600s. And then I can change. It's a nice simple example of how to change something, I guess. Any other 600s? Yes, there is. So I'll change this one. I can't remember what I made the other one now. Isn't that horrible? Is it 400, hopefully? And here's another. I'll make that one 400. Obviously, I made one 450. There we go. And so on, I can keep changing those things, and I can change the colors. I can find the color settings inside here and make those little changes. Once I'm happy with that, I can save the widget just by simply doing a save or a file save as if I need to. I've just saved it directly there, and then I can use that in one of my applications if I need to. I'm not going to go through and put it into an application, but that's the idea with a widget. Okay, let's jump back to the PowerPoint for a moment. So we can do something like building a new widget. Additionally, on top of the connectors that we talked about, there's the Qlik Data Market. So Data Market previously had a couple of things called Essentials 3 and Essentials, and one on world currencies. Just recently, they've added the two new packages. One of them is stocks and indices, and the other is financial reports or company financial reports. They cost an amount of money to subscribe to, but you're getting quite extensive amounts of data on each company for over 120 of the stock markets around the world or stock exchanges around the world. So it could be interesting to at least one or two of the people on this call, seeing some of the names there. I know that you guys might be interested, so certainly explore that with your salesperson to talk about pricing and maybe getting a sample so that you can have a look at it. Okay, so the last thing that's happened that I wanted to talk about is Qlik NPrinting. So NPrinting has been available for QlikView for quite a period of time, and then what has happened in this latest version, the 3.01 service release, is that Qlik NPrinting and Qlik Sense talk to one another. So I wanted to talk briefly about some of the capabilities and also some of the use cases. Certainly in the first use case that I always think about is the ability for you to use this reporting to generate what might be a stack of things for a monthly report. You can drop those into a prepared template, a Microsoft Word template or PowerPoint template or something like that. You can put your commentary around the objects, and the objects can be automatically populated from NPrinting. I think I can see lots of time savings for analysts and people reporting on the results for the month with that one. The second one that I see a good use case for is some alerting functionality, so that when the application is reloaded or NPrinting is reloaded, it can be coded so that you look through for cases where things need to be alerted to particular people, and if that alert doesn't fire, that person doesn't get a notification. But let's say a salesperson's, I don't know, margin on particular orders went out of kilter, then you could have an alert coming through that would tell the sales manager that there's some cases from yesterday or this week or this month or whatever the reload period is around those sales that were outside of the accepted KPI ranges. Security around those, if you're using and know of section access, then the NPrinting application supports section access so that you can make sure that people only get to see the things they're interested in. An example might be sales manager for New South Wales doesn't get to see sales data for Victoria, something like that. As well as that, we can have some role-based security to allow people to, based on their roles, to be able to do and to see certain things. All right, so the other good piece of news is that you can take things that have been developed in QlikView and things that have been developed in Qlik Sense and combine those into a single NPrinting report. So that's a really powerful way if you've got a heavy investment in QlikView and you're using NPrinting to do some of those pieces, and you want to explore the Qlik Sense as an alternative. It's quite an easy buy-in to grab some licenses and put those into a Qlik Sense server, and then you can use NPrinting to bring those two pieces together. I'd see the real advantage in doing that is that you can then use Sense for some of the ad hoc reporting, and the rest of those pieces can come from the QlikView server. Someone's just asked if you need a QlikView server to do that, and the answer is yes. You need to have a QlikView server to pull those reports from QlikView and drop them into NPrinting. It can't be done just with a standalone version of QlikView. Okay, so this is a little bit salesy, I guess, in some ways. It's talking about making great-looking reports. It's very true that those reports can use all the tools that we're used to, so Excel, Word, PowerPoint. We can drop all these things into PDFs once we've got through and built them. The skill to be able to give people the right reports is very valuable. We can allow people to be given those reports from the administrator, but we can also allow those people to log into something called Newsstand, and from Newsstand they can subscribe to reports. They need to be identified as a user already of NPrinting so that we can grab their security details. If they're already in Qlik Sense or QlikView as a user, then that's a nice, easy process. If you're then adding people who are neither QlikView nor Qlik Sense users, you need to be able to make sure you're dealing with the security around those people correctly. And the process we're using is to add those people into NPrinting as users first before you allow them to subscribe. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the timing of those things. I talked about those alerts, so the ability to let people get information when they need it is very valuable. So that timing, again, we can schedule all the reports, and we can have triggers that will allow that report to run or not based on the results of something that you see either on the QlikView side or the Qlik Sense side. Scalability. We've got some information around how many users can be dealt with and how many reports can be sent out daily. It's really quite scary how many can be sent out, so it'll scale up nicely for larger deployments. I've talked about the Office integration. You can also make HTML-based reports, and you can have some pixel-perfect reporting as well. Okay, I talked a little bit about that ability. I'll show some samples in a sec. Here's someone going through and building a dashboard using the Pixel Perfect editor to align everything, deal with page breaks and those kind of things into longer and more complicated reports. This is the ability to drop things into a web-based, let's talk about the web-based client. So this is where the administrators will deal with the software. This can either be dealt with directly on the server, and this, I guess, would then become local host. If you want to have people deal with it outside of the server, you need to open up a port to your administrators, but once you've done that, they can go through and build reports and so on in combination with a local desktop client for designing the report, and then this one for managing the reports. We talked about the newsstand portal very briefly. It allows users who have been added to the system to jump in and subscribe to various reports that you've made available to them. And we've got lots of role-based security around here, so we can decide in terms of administrators what they can do, but also in terms of users what they can do. So here's some of the things that are new in Qlik Sense. So that conditional reporting that I've just talked about. So if a condition's met, then we can send some things out. On-demand reporting was available in older versions of Qlik Sense. It will become available again in Qlik Sense as we move into NPrinting as we move into later versions. We support section access, which is really important for security. And just one more piece that I wanted to talk about, and then I'll show a quick screenshot of that. You can distribute reports directly to the Qlik Sense hub. Okay, so what I mean by that, let's say we distribute a PDF report. We can have that accessible from the Qlik Sense hub, and I'll just give you a quick screenshot of that in a moment. I'm ahead of myself again. So you have lots of different outputs. This might be a PowerPoint-like output. Here's a Word document. I talked about this a little bit earlier, the ability for the analyst to go in and put their commentary, and then for NPrinting to be putting the objects and the report for that current month in. So generally it would be Qlik Sense puts the objects in, and then the analyst looks at those things and then puts the words in that are appropriate. Lots of ability to drop things out to Excel as well, and including dynamically building additional tabs in terms of reporting. So I've seen this a lot where there's lots of salespeople, for example, or lots of product groups. We'll see a summarized product group and then some separate tabs that split out into each product group and do their analysis. Here's a Pixel Perfect report that's been built, which I know a few people will be interested. Someone's just asked, will it work like a mail merge document? Can we select and insert chart or table where we want? So yes, indeed, you can. Generally speaking, when you set up that template, you're putting it exactly where you want it inside your Word document. And if you need a second Word document that has a different set of charts in there, then you'd build a second document. So I think that's the same as mail merge, but you might have a slightly different feel for where that goes. Okay, and here's getting close to the last thing that I wanted to talk about, is the ability to publish those reports directly into the Qlik Sense hub. Now these are being published here as PDFs, potentially Word documents and so on. The examples I've all seen are PDFs, and that may be the limitation. So what we can do here is we can have a series of reports that are PDFs, and now the caution with PDFs is that if it's PDF'd already, it's not going to allow anything like section access or drill down. This is going to be a hard copy report. So it may be that these particular hard copy reports are for the executive team who get to see all data, for example. This is a stream like any other stream inside Qlik Sense, and so we can have some security on that stream to see who sees it and who doesn't see it. I've got through to the end of my prepared webinar webcast stuff. I'd like to see if we have some other questions. I'll just scroll back up. I think I answered the questions that came on the way, but I'll just check for the rest now, see if there's any more. Just to emphasize on that binary load inside Sense, certainly I was a bit frustrated when I heard that, because it seemed to me that we'd built a way of doing a layer of QlikView apps that we could then binary load to take that data and push it in. It's just not possible inside Qlik Sense, and so what we need to do is build the QVD layer carefully, and then we load those pieces into Qlik Sense. One other thing, the NPrinting server needs to be on a separate server from the Qlik Sense server. I'm not sure on the QlikView server. It used to be able to be in the same place, but I suspect it's also not able to be done. So someone's asked if it's possible to take a text field from a Qlik Sense object, like the name of a table, and export it, some direct copying functionality. I don't think that's available. If you have a KPI object or something like that, I think you can take that and do it, but I don't think you can do it for all objects. In terms of the line colors for different measures inside a chart, sales and margin, yes, it is possible to change those things. It's possible in a couple of places. The first is the color wizard that can be put in there. So I'll try and put a little example of that into the information we send back to just see how it can be done. The second thing is that you can build yourself a line chart wizard and play around with all the polarization inside there. No, users can't create reports in the NPrinting newsstand. They can simply subscribe. All right, that looks like all the questions. I haven't seen any more pop up. I'll just wait another 30 seconds and then we might finish up with the presentation. Certainly anyone that's using Sense at the moment, please reach out to us if you need any further assistance, or if you want to discuss the upgrade process. We can certainly assist with that if need be. Again, thank you everyone. There's quite a few people on the presentation, so thank you so much for being here and listening to me wobble on about Qlik Sense. I'm liking everything I see in Qlik Sense, and I'm looking forward. The next version is 3.1. The next major version is 3.1, due around September. That's going to make some fairly large changes to the back end, and so please don't upgrade until we give you an okay on that. We're a little. There's a lot to happen in this next version in 3.1. And so we'd like to make sure that we're comfortable with it for you go ahead and make the upgrades. All right, fantastic. Thanks very much, everyone. And I look forward to giving you the next What's New in 3.1 when it's out.